I just get to pinch myself every day because I am the biggest Disney fan that I know.
Really?
Really?
Whether it comes to parks, the movies, Pixar, Disney Plus, all the Disney Channel shows, I've been obsessed my whole life.
You can't be serious.
I feel very, very blessed to be playing Snow White so much. Yeah.
First, it was the silence, then the cancellations, and now the walkout. Multiple sources claim Rachel Zegler's Publicist has officially quit, abandoning the starlet in the middle of one of the most chaotic PR spirals in recent memory.
Let's take a look. Tyler Kappa took that photo. Have no idea why it's the photo on IMDb. I have a professional headshot that is used on Deadline all the time.
No farewell statement, no polished transition, just vanished. And according to insiders, it wasn't just a quiet departure. It was the final snap in a strategy that had already crumbled under pressure. This isn't your typical Hollywood reshuffle. Publicists don't just bail mid-crisis, especially not on rising stars with multiple films in the pipeline. But Zegler's situation, insiders say, had become unmanageable.
Don't know why this is the one that they used, but yeah, she's cute. You know, let's just see the authenticity of this. I'm going to authenticate my IMDb page for you. Singer and songwriter, debatable. Raised in New Jersey by her American father and Colombian mother, which is a hilarious way to put that, but that's true.
Her image was bleeding out, the Evita scandal still rotting at the center, and the silence from her team had only made things worse. There was no plan left, one source said, and nobody wanted to be the face of a collapse. That collapse? It started long before the public even noticed. What was meant to be a sleek, quiet reset, no statements, no drama, just let the noise die down, turned into a vacuum that swallowed Zegler's momentum whole. With every no-show, every missed opportunity to clarify or control the narrative, the whispers grew louder. People wanted answers. Instead, they got nothing. And behind the scenes, panic.
Having been one of 30,000 people to audition, she was selected to play the role of Maria. That's true as well. Known for, I don't think I'm known for anything, but known for West Side Story.
By the time the Publicist reportedly made their exit, the damage was done. Studios were already pulling invites. Industry allies were going quiet. Zegler, once positioned as the face of Hollywood's next wave, had become its cautionary tale. And now she's facing the storm with no one left to spin it. No spokesperson, no lifeline, just a crumbling brand, a frozen smile, and an industry asking if even her publicist bailed. How bad is it, really? The collapse didn't happen all at once. It unraveled in slow motion, one awkward silence at a time. After the Evita drama exploded, most celebrities would have done the obvious, release a carefully worded statement, sit for a soft focus interview, maybe post a cryptic but hopeful Instagram caption. But Zegler's team? They did the opposite. No posts, no red carpets, no damage control, just a total media blackout. And it wasn't a misstep, it was the plan.
Then, for some reason, they decided to send me my star meter, which means pretty much approaching a low point in my career.
Sources now say the decision to go silent was pitched as low-exposure recovery. The logic? Ride out the noise, let the scandal fatigue set in, and re-emerge when the storm had passed. But here's the problem. The storm didn't pass. It metastasized. In the absence of clarity, the internet filled in the blanks with speculation, rumors, and viral threads. The narrative slipped out of her control, and her silence turned from mysterious to damning. Insiders claim the strategy wasn't agreed on unanimously. There were tensions behind the scenes. One faction allegedly pushing for immediate press outreach and proactive interviews, while another believed any public statement would just make things worse. The result? Paralysis. And that's where the cracks really started to show. It didn't take long for even casual observers to notice the awkward gaps. Where was Rachel at that industry event she'd RSVP'd to months ago? Why hadn't she commented on projects she was still attached to? Why were her co-stars acting like she didn't exist? The quiet wasn't calming anyone. It was setting off alarms.
Pretty interesting that they decided to send me my star meter. And it didn't do anything to my self-esteem. Whatever.
And the longer the silence dragged on, the more the entire PR plan looked less like a strategy and more like a void. A void her publicist was being blamed for, until they weren't. Because now they're gone, and Zegler's camp is left staring at the fallout of a plan that didn't just fail. It may have destroyed the very thing it was meant to protect. The turning point wasn't some dramatic press conference or leaked phone call. It was a moment so subtle most people missed it. But insiders say it was the red flag, an exclusive press junket for a streaming film Rachel was involved in. She was slated to appear, scheduled for interviews, and even had her talking points reviewed weeks prior. But when cameras rolled, she was nowhere. No explanation, no last-minute illness, no reshuffle, just a glaring absence, with journalists told quietly to skip her section. That move, according to a PR source, wasn't accidental. She was pulled, and not by the studio, meaning it came from her team. A final attempt to limit exposure, they claimed, but instead, it sparked whispers. Was she being protected or hidden?
But it's also really important to me that I share with you not only the really good, exciting moments, but also like the little blips where I just don't feel great.
It was around that moment, insiders say, that everything snapped. The studio was livid, the cast left scrambling, and the entire press event, originally meant to highlight the ensemble, became about her absence. The story became the silence, and that silence, once hailed as smart PR strategy, started to look like pure sabotage. From there, the house of cards came crashing down. One appearance pulled led to another, a panel at a Women in Film event, quietly withdrawn, a digital Q&A with fans, postponed indefinitely. Behind the scenes, Zegler's publicist was allegedly fielding panicked calls from reps, managers, and even sponsors asking why she was suddenly ghosting the industry. That was the moment, according to multiple sources, where trust began to erode, not just between Zegler and her publicist, but within her entire team. No one wanted to take the blame, but everyone knew it wasn't working, said one insider. And that's when the exit started being discussed. The junket was supposed to be damage control. Instead, it confirmed what some in the industry had already suspected. Zegler's PR strategy wasn't collapsing. It had already collapsed, and nobody wanted to be standing underneath it when it hit the ground. Behind the scenes, it was less of a PR team and more of a war room. According to multiple insiders, Zegler's publicist wasn't just battling bad headlines. They were battling her own management. There were meetings where voices were raised, text chains that got icy, people from the same camp pushing entirely different narratives. And in the middle of it all, Rachel, increasingly unreachable, reportedly refusing to be packaged into a redemption arc she didn't believe in. The core disagreement? Visibility. The publicist, it said, wanted to pivot quickly. The longer Rachel stayed silent, the harder it would be to claw her way back into public favor. The solution? A well-timed interview. A social post with just enough vulnerability. A strategically picked photo op with an industry ally. Nothing flashy, just human. But her managers weren't having it.
What would you say to those who are just kind of overly critiquing the film at this point? You've worked so hard on it.
I'm getting on a coffee lot here. Yeah, hold on.
All right.
They thought silence was power, one insider explained. They wanted to write it out like Beyoncé, but forgot that Rachel's not Beyoncé. There were also rumors of tighter restrictions around who could speak on her behalf. At one point, even the publicist reportedly had to run statements through a layer of internal approvals. Approvals that often came back late, or not at all. It got to the point where they were basically silencing their own mouthpiece, said someone familiar with the situation. You can't execute a crisis plan when no one agrees on what the crisis is. Meanwhile, fans and press were losing patience. The vacuum left by Zegler's disappearing act was quickly filled with speculation, and her team had no unified voice to shut it down. So while her publicist was crafting pitches and planning appearances, other members of the team were pulling the plug before she could even hit send. In Hollywood, internal conflict leaks fast. Studios began to notice the disarray. PR firms caught wind of the power struggle, and one by one, doors that were once wide open started closing. Because in this business, nothing kills a reputation faster than the sense that no one is steering the ship. And Rachel's ship? It wasn't just drifting, it was splitting at the seams. By the time the publicist made their exit, it wasn't a surprise. It was a relief. At least that's how one insider described it. They were done, burned out, and honestly, embarrassed. Because this wasn't just a case of a client refusing to cooperate. This was a client becoming a liability and a strategy turning into a punchline. The publicist didn't just leave. They distanced. Hard. No loyalty post. No soft farewell. Just a quiet severing of ties like they were scrubbing their own name from the wreckage. Multiple sources say the final straw came when a major studio, one that had been quietly working with Zegler's team on an upcoming press rollout, flat out refused to move forward unless her image was rehabilitated, not improved, rehabilitated. A word usually reserved for stars with criminal records, not messy Broadway feuds. That's how deep the damage ran. And when the publicist brought that message back to the team, crickets. No new plan, no pivot, just more silence. And here's the thing, this wasn't some junior flack fresh out of grad school. This was a seasoned PR handler who had worked with bigger names, sharper scandals, and tougher recoveries. They knew what needed to happen, but allegedly, every suggestion was either overruled or ignored.
This clip is already 9 minutes long on my phone, and I bet you learned nothing.
It was like playing chess with people who were too busy arguing about the color of the board, said one source familiar with the dynamic. By the time they walked, the writing was already on the wall. Rachel's social feeds had gone cold. Invitations had stopped arriving. Press was circling like sharks. And still, no move from the team. That kind of paralysis isn't just a red flag. In the PR world, it's professional suicide. So the Publicist got out, quietly, strategically, and now Zegler is left alone in the very silence her team insisted would save her. Only now, it's not a strategy. It's the sound of everything falling apart. For the first time since her career started, Rachel Zegler is publicly unprotected. No publicist, no visible team handling her fallout, no friendly journalist feeding her softball questions in a puff-piece comeback, just silence, and the full weight of her controversy resting squarely on her shoulders. And now that her PR strategy has imploded, she's facing something far more terrifying than backlash: vulnerability. This is the moment when most stars scramble. They post a carefully cropped selfie with a caption about healing. They leak a source close to the star quote to page 6. They make a surprise podcast appearance to set the record straight. But so far, Rachel, nothing. She's been off the radar for weeks, with zero public-facing response to her publicist's reported exit. And that's raising questions not just about her image, but about her grip on the situation at all. One executive from a top production company put it bluntly: she's not acting like someone ready to fix this, she's acting like someone in over her head. Without a team filtering her message, every word, if she ever chooses to speak, will be picked apart, scrutinized, and spun. And the longer she waits, the more people assume the worst. This is the dark side of silence. When you have no spokesperson to clarify, no team to mediate, you don't just lose control of the narrative, you become the narrative. Memes take over. Fan theories grow legs. Industry gatekeepers stop asking what's next and start asking who's next to replace her, because here's the brutal truth: Hollywood doesn't do waiting games. If Zegler can't step up, someone else will. Studios will recast. Audiences will move on. And the PR safety net she once had is gone. No filter, no buffer, no strategy, just Rachel.
I don't want people to see me as ungrateful or anything like that. I was nervous that that's what this makes me look like.
Raw, exposed, and at the mercy of a media machine that doesn't care how talented you are, only how much damage you bring with you. Hollywood's not saying it out loud, but the reaction is speaking volumes. Since the news broke that Zegler's publicist allegedly quit, a wave of quiet hesitation has swept through the industry. Publicists at other firms are reportedly declining to take meetings with her team. One even said, off the record, "It's radioactive right now. There's no upside, no narrative to build off, just mess." And that's a death sentence in an industry obsessed with optics. Studios, too, are starting to pull back. One director, who previously praised her in interviews, has gone silent on social media. A casting agent reportedly removed her name from a shortlist circulating for an upcoming adaptation of a beloved musical. Even streaming platforms, once eager to associate themselves with young, diverse stars, are allegedly pushing her scheduled promos to TBD. But here's the chilling part: none of this is being stated publicly. That's how you know it's serious. When doors close in Hollywood, they rarely slam. They just lock without warning. You don't get a cancellation, you get ghosted. Even her colleagues seem unsure how to navigate the situation. Some former co-stars are liking old posts, but avoiding any new mention of her. One high-profile actress asked about Rachel during a panel, gave a vague smile and changed the subject. That silence? It's not accidental, because in this business, once the handlers are gone, the safety net disappears. And right now, the industry's not asking, can she recover? They're asking, do we even want her to? The fans are split, but they're loud. As word spreads about Zegler's publicist allegedly quitting, Twitter has turned into a battleground. On one side are the longtime stans, still clinging to the idea that Rachel is being unfairly scapegoated. They're crafting threads about industry double standards, comparing her silence to the rebrand strategies of actors like Timothée Chalamet or Anya Taylor-Joy. "Y'all love mysterious when it's a man," one viral tweet said. But when Rachel goes quiet, she's difficult? Make it make sense. But the other side? Brutal. Memes are flying. Old interviews are resurfacing, now framed as red flags. TikToks are dissecting her every move, calling out alleged entitlement, ego, and a refusal to take accountability.
I don't want people to see me in a weakened state. I don't want people to see me as ungrateful or anything like that. I was nervous that that's what this makes me look like.
Hashtag Zegler Unplugged started trending after one creator posted a parody skit of her PR team melting down. The video? Over 1 million views in under 48 hours. Even neutral fans are shifting. One fan account posted, "I loved her, I really did, but this is exhausting." Another simply said, "Silence isn't grace when the house is on fire." Ouch. What's dangerous here isn't just the criticism, it's the fatigue. Zegler was once an underdog, a Cinderella story that fans rallied behind. But now, people are tired of waiting, tired of guessing, and increasingly tired of defending someone who won't speak for herself. And when fandom turns from fierce loyalty to quiet disengagement, that's not just a PR problem. That's a warning shot to every studio still hoping she's bankable. So, what does this all mean for Rachel Zegler's career? In one word, instability. Without a publicist steering the ship, and with her reputation still spiraling from the Evita fiasco, every project she's attached to is now under a microscope. Studios are nervous, producers are reevaluating, and future deals? They're hanging by a thread. Sources close to one streaming platform say a deal that once seemed locked is now in flux, with executives reportedly concerned that the drama outweighs the draw. Another film, still in pre-production, is rumored to be quietly exploring backup casting options. They haven't cut her yet, but they're planning for the possibility. And in an industry where perception can kill a contract faster than numbers ever could, that's a very bad sign. Brand deals are even shakier. One mid-tier fashion house that previously partnered with Zegler has allegedly paused upcoming collaborations. Another campaign she was expected to lead ghosted. Her team, or what remains of it, is still trying to secure placements, but the response has reportedly gone cold. The irony is sharp. Rachel was once the golden girl, smart, talented, media-trained. Now, without a mouthpiece or a plan, she's drifting in the kind of uncertainty that can swallow entire careers. The kind that doesn't end with a big announcement or a scandalous headline, but with a quiet fade. Because in this town, it's not just about being good, it's about being trusted. And right now, Zegler's trust capital is running dangerously low. It always starts this way. Whispers, retreat, silence. Then one by one, the exits begin. The publicist, the press, the fans, the industry. And when the dust finally settles, what's left isn't scandal, it's emptiness. Rachel Zegler's story isn't over, but it is dangerously close to being rewritten by absence. Not by what she said, but by what she didn't. Not by what she did, but by what she allowed to fester without response. Because this isn't just a PR collapse, it's a shift in momentum, a fall from grace that isn't marked by one explosive mistake, but by a dozen slow, avoidable missteps, each one chipping away at the trust, the goodwill, the mythos. She was supposed to be untouchable. Now, she's unrepresented, unspoken for, and increasingly unwelcome. The publicist walking out is more than just a logistical inconvenience, it's a symbol. It says the people who were paid to believe in her couldn't anymore. And if they can't, who will? But here's the thing. Hollywood loves a comeback. It craves it. If Rachel finds her voice, if she takes control of her narrative, if she shows up raw and real instead of curated and cagey, there might still be a path back. But that window is shrinking. Every day she stays silent. The story hardens. And the longer the silence stretches, the more final it starts to feel. So we'll ask you, is Rachel Zegler being unfairly dragged, or is this the fallout of ignoring the very system that built her? And after losing her voice, her visibility, and now her publicist, does she even want to come back? Hit like, subscribe, and drop your take in the comments, because the next video on your screen is waiting, and trust me, you won't believe what's coming next.